The Wealthy Life is brought to you by investment dealer Raymond James. Life well planned. See what a Raymond James advisor can do for you.
We're back. With us today is Chris Mills, a financial advisor who understands today's needs of the millennial investor. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, Sybil. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, are you just squeaking in on the millennial trend yourself?
Well, I won't tell you how old I am, but by a couple of years, I just squeaked in, yeah.
All right, that's perfect. So what is different about millennials?
Well, I'll tell you that the biggest thing about millennials is they're used to having everything online, right? So everything they've done, any kind of commerce has been online, whether that's banking, whether that's shopping, whether that's bill payment, it's all been online. So the biggest difference is whether coming into someone's office or doing it online, millennials are used to doing everything online.
So they would prefer to continue communicating that way.
Absolutely.
It's a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
It's not like the seniors who are getting frustrated with the computers and want to still go in and deal with someone face to face.
Absolutely not. What they've been growing up with doing things online, so they're so used to doing things online, that's natural to them.
Now, how did you get interested in investing in the first place?
For me, my father's an engineer, so he has the ability to take these really complex problems and break them down to really simple, easy to understand solutions. So I can remember as a kid reading through the paper at our dining room table, and in the back of the finance section, they used to have all the stock quotes, if you remember that. It was a long time ago. So he used to break it down for me, what this means, what's going on in the market, and I was just fascinated by that stuff. I've been very, very lucky that I knew what I wanted to do when I was a young kid, and still the passion's there today.
Wow, so another numbers nerd.
Yeah, it just goes by
What happened? Like
math,
some of us are just born that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And then you got into the profession and spent a lot of time working with other millennials?
Yeah, I have been. I mean, the biggest thing with millennials that I find is procrastination. And you have to understand, it's a totally different landscape for millennials, myself included. We're judging ourselves against our parents and our grandparents. So when we look at all these milestones when it comes to graduation from school, getting married, if that's what you want to do, having kids, buying a home, these are all things that we, in our mind, are ingrained. We've judged ourselves against our parents, and we're pushing these things back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So for me, what I want to do with millennials is make sure that I don't let them, when it comes to investing in retirement, let that milestone slip. So that's been my focus, is that although all these other pieces are sliding along, I want to make sure they're on track with investing and make sure the retirement stays on track.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I mean, I look at that, but young people today tend to start things way later, and maybe it's post-secondary education. I mean, more and more people are getting a degree.
Absolutely, it has a lot to do with it. School's so expensive these days that when, in order to go to school, to be competitive, to get those jobs, you almost have to go to school these days. And unfortunately, to go to school, sometimes it involves moving away from home, so you're paying for rent, you're paying for food. School is so expensive that when you actually leave school, you're stuck with this big burden, and you have to pay back all this money. So it really puts people behind the 8 ball, and almost behind the gun, if you will. So when they have all these things going on in their mind, investing usually falls to the bottom of the list.
And then people get married later, buy their first house later.
Absolutely.
And it's getting harder and harder, I think, for young people today to get a start in the real estate market.
Oh, especially in BC, it's getting out of control. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there is one huge advantage, though, that millennials have that the rest of us don't.
Time.
They're young.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're going to say
They've got time.
That's one thing we have going for us. So, you know, when it comes to that, it is pretty powerful. When you look at just numbers, and you take a small amount, say we'll look at like $250 a month, right? So if you put away $250 a month, and you do that for the next 30 years, we look at a very conservative rate of return of about 6%. That's going to produce about $250,000 at the end of 30 years. So I'm not saying that's the end-all, be-all, and that's all you have to do, but what that does is that creates confidence. It gets the ball rolling. So it allows people to say, oh, we're building up this sort of nest egg, and then once they start making more money, they can invest in the TFSA, or they can invest in RSP or different tools, but that's something that at least gets their foot in the door and allows them to do.
Now, are they doing that? Are you seeing them investing, or what are some of the roadblocks?
No, I'm not seeing that. And again, it comes down to procrastination. There's a few things that are going on here. And I'll give you a little bit of a story here. I had a client of mine who asked me to talk to her niece. So her niece just graduated, perfect example, graduated at UBC. She's in medicine, so she actually is a doctor now. So she had just started investing, and she was getting overloaded with all this different information. So it was information overload, but it was poor information. So when she came to me, she had her banker talking about line of credit. She had her advisor, who she'd actually never met, talking about different mutual funds. There was just a lot going on. So when I started talking to her, brought her into the office, I started asking about her goals, her dreams, what she wants to do. I just really simplified things. And by the end of our meeting, it was only 15 or 20 minutes, but I had an elementary financial plan. So when she walked away, she actually had a plan in her hand. She was relaxed, she felt confident, all that outside noise went away. And so that's what it's all about. It's just creating that simplistic financial plan and making people feel comfortable.
I think people need a goal. I mean, just to save for the future, it seems so unfulfilling.
I couldn't agree more, and that's why the first step is I'm a proponent of the financial plan, especially when it comes to millennials. And when you go and meet an advisor, you're looking online for some information, it's like you want that financial plan. It's the first step. It makes it a reality. It's like that goal. It's like whether it's you're working out or it's a diet or whatever the case may be, looking for a job, it's like if you don't have that plan, you're sort of unfocused, right? So it creates that laser focus, and it's like at least you're working towards something. Builds a lot of confidence.
And then you get excited about it and stick to it. And you need to be disciplined. And I think a lot of people, not just millennials, lack that discipline. But if you can set it up as an automatic withdrawal out of your bank account every month or every paycheck and just going into an investment portfolio.
Great idea.
Autopilot, you don't even think about it.
Absolutely. And so what I found is that sometimes seems a little bit daunting, or I'll get some pushback right away with people saying, I have no money. Like, I can't do that. I'm living in Vancouver. I have no money. So what I've been showing people, and again, like through online, is using different apps, like on their phone. Everyone's on their phone.
Yes.
So Mint is an example.
Mint is
no affiliation with Mint, but
no, it's a great app. I use it.
Oh, great, awesome. I use it too. It's on my phone. It slows the data down a lot, but it's good. So what I found is when people input all their different expenses into Mint, it usually shows that, oh, I'm spending $200 a month or something on Starbucks. I'm spending all this different on food, and it really opens up money where if they're willing to take that first step, the money, not in all cases, but it's usually there. It's just being allocated and going out the window, and you don't even really realize it. So that's an example of using a tool that just puts it right in front of your face, and then if you want to take responsibility, you can't use that excuse anymore. So we're just eliminating those excuses, right?
It holds you accountable. And I mean, it's just like people who go on a diet and count calories. If you don't count calories, you're not going to worry about that extra donut that you ate. But if you're accountable for it, it's top of mind and you're more aware.
Couldn't agree more, absolutely.
Just to wrap this up, what are some final tips that you have for millennials?
The biggest tip is to get started. So it's that procrastination that's a killer. So take responsibility, invest in yourself. If you're on your phone, you're on Google, you could even ask your friend, ask your father, ask acquaintances of the family, what advisor are you using? Be accountable, go meet with an advisor. She or he will give you the information. Be armed with questions. Do you provide a financial plan? What are your fees? What's your service model? The last sort of zinger would be, what have you done with other millennials in my situation? This is their first time investing. I think that 5-10 minute meeting will be something that just like it's the step in the right direction, and it's invaluable.
It'll set them up for life.
Exactly.
Get started. Final tip for all you millennials out there: start now and try and put 10% of your income away. Just have it on autopilot.
Absolutely.
Chris, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
Great tips.
Thanks for having me.
And when we return, learn how to make 20% or more on your savings to fund post-secondary education.